Hello everybody, welcome to your August energy update for the Leo new moon lunar cycle and the energies of the season of Lammas. So this is a much more abundant, joyful, easeful lunar cycle than the ones we have currently been experiencing. This is where we can start to feel our energy, our vitality, our creativity being rebirthed after our journey through the emotional waters of Cancer, through the eclipse season, through the Mercury retrograde, which, although providing us some much needed healing and reflection, was very energetically heavy. There was a lot of releasing, a lot of transforming, a lot of letting go, which is of course natural and necessary. But it is also beautiful to have this upcoming period where we can really reconnect with the joy and pleasure of life. So this lunar cycle, this 4-week period, begins with the Leo new moon, which was the 31st of July for some of you. Those of you over in the USA would have had that in the late hours of the 31st of July. For most of us, that new moon would have occurred on the 1st of August. Beautiful Leo new moon with Venus and Mars still also traveling through the sign of the Lioness. So this new moon reawakens our passion. It reawakens our desire for life, our desire to engage, to try new things, to reconnect with our own sense of creativity. Leo is the radiance of Sol. Leo is all about the unique individual creative expression of self. Leo is the sign that just expresses herself just for the joy of doing so. So as Rumi says, Leo encourages us to let the beauty of what we love be what we do. Leo teaches us that when we allow ourselves to be seen, when we allow ourselves to express all of the beauty and unique creativity that we have within us, then we encourage others to do so, to do the same. So in this way, Leo is often associated with leadership, with courage, and also with sovereignty. Leo is a reconnection with our own inner queen, our own divinity. Leo says, can you recognize yourself as a divine being of light? So it's a very expansive, it's a golden energy that brings us back into this space of gratitude and generosity and open-heartedness. So Leo reminds us that we can know ourselves through our creations. So through expressing our creativity in the world, we come into deeper resonance with our own soul self, with our own soul's longing. So this is a time to really allow yourself space to do those things that you love, to dance, to move, to write, to paint, to sing, to celebrate. This is a time of really remembering that life can and indeed should be filled with pleasure. So this new moon begins the month with a square to Uranus, the storm goddess, who is, as we know, newly instated in the sign of Taurus. She's at 6 degrees Taurus at the time of this new moon. So Uranus is really this energy of liberation, of freedom, of being able to, again, be our unique, authentic self, allowing us to be who we truly are. So this is a time and a month where we are breaking free of limitations, of conformity, of societal expectations. Uranus in Taurus is particularly concerned with liberation around the themes of tangible security, prosperity, wealth, resources, and sensuality and sexuality. We know Taurus is this beautiful, luscious, abundant Venus-ruled sign. Both Leo and Taurus are concerned with themes of self-love, self-value, and self-worth. So this new moon asks, how can I liberate myself from old stuck patterns around what I believe I deserve, what I am worth? How can I allow new inspirations around the themes of finances, creativity, beauty, and self-love to come into my life? So how can I let go of all of these old constricting beliefs I am carrying around my creations not being good enough? I'm not good enough. I'll never earn enough to be able to spend my life doing what I love. So these are some of the key things that we can work with and that we can ask ourselves. And we need to be sure that we are taking note of any ideas as they come in as well, and really bringing them into being and embodying them, making the changes that need to be made. This is a month of coming out of our comfort zone. It's a time when a lot of opportunity and a lot of new beginnings can happen in the areas of abundance, romance, and playfulness, and joy and creativity. But we have to be Leo, and we have to be courageous enough to step into them, to know that we deserve them, to know that it's okay to be seen, to expand. Quite often times, positive change, long for change, can be just as unsettling to the human ego as unwanted change, because any kind of change calls us to evolve to the next level. It calls us to let go of what is comfortable and familiar. So how can we embrace change as a positive force in our life, says Uranus, and we'll be working with her energies a lot this month. You know, she's going to station retrograde later in the month as well, on the 11th, and we're also going to have an Aquarius full moon on the 15th, which Uranus will be the ruler of. So how can we break free of our self-imposed ruts, our stagnancy, our small self, and come into a new paradigm of self-sufficiency, self-worth, and abundance? So this new moon initiates this cycle. So these are the themes that we will be carrying through with us over the next 4 weeks. So we also celebrate the season, the festival of Lammas, throughout August, and as we go into September, this is the 6 weeks between the Lammas at the 1st of August and the autumn equinox on the 23rd of September. So this is a time of harvest. We see here in the Northern Hemisphere the fruits ripening on the trees. We see the fields of corn and wheat. It's a time of us really being able to see and enjoy the abundance of Mother Earth, of all that she provides for us, of remembering her as the source of all our nourishment, all our sustenance. This is a time of year when the seeds that were planted at the beginning of the cycle are now coming to fruition. And as it is with the earth, so it is with our hopes and dreams and wishes. It's time to think about what we are harvesting in our own lives. What have you been working towards this year? What, at the beginning of the year, what did you set into motion? What were your intentions for this year? What were you desiring to birth into being? And how is that coming into tangible reality now? How are you starting to see the rewards for all of your efforts and endeavors? So these are things that we can reflect on through this lunar cycle. Lammas is traditionally celebrated on the 1st of August, yet the solar gateway, the astrological gateway for Lammas, is actually falling around the 7th or 8th, depending on which time zone you are in. So each year we have 8 solar festivals. We have the 2 solstices, the summer and the winter. We have the 2 equinoxes, the spring and the autumn. And they are initiated by the sun moving into the cardinal signs. Aries in the spring, Cancer in the summer, Libra at the autumn equinox, and Capricorn at the winter solstice. We also have 4 cross-quarter festivals, and these are celebrated at the midpoint between the major 4 cross-quarter festivals. So they are celebrated as the sun, as Sol, crosses the 15-degree mark of the fixed signs. So we have Imbolc on the 15th of February, Aquarius season, and so on as we move through the wheel of the year. So the sun reaches 15 degrees of Leo around the 7th or 8th. So this again brings up these energies of harvest, of abundance. It's a good time for celebrating, for giving thanks. We know that in ancient times, the sun was actually celebrated as a goddess. We see the ancient imagery of the goddess and the lion that came way before the installation of the male lion as the archetype connected with the sign of Leo. So this is a time of really honoring all of the gifts that we receive throughout the cycle of the year. This is a time when we are moving from the energy of the bright sun, the energy of the summer sun, the sun at the peak of her strength, towards the energy of the dark sun or the black sun as we go into the autumn months, the darker half of the year in the northern hemisphere. For those of you in the southern hemisphere, this is the festival of Imbolc, the awakening, after the long dark winter months. So this is a time when the fire of Leo can really awaken that passion to begin again, to begin anew within you as you plant the seeds that will be harvested in 6 months' time in your cycle of the year. So the energies of Leo and Lammas are very intertwined. It's this energy of golden abundance, of receptivity, of deep gratitude. So it's a beautiful time of the year. We also, at this time of year, celebrate the rising of Sirius. So this is what is traditionally referred to now in the New Age as the Lion's Gate, the Lion's Gate energies, or the Lion's Gate portal. In ancient times, star watchers would be observing the movements of the heavens at this time of year. They would be waiting to see Sirius, the star of Sothis or the star of Stopdet, rising in the east in the early morning skies alongside our golden soul star. The rising of Sirius indicated this time of abundance. It was very significant to the ancient Egyptians because this was the time that the Nile flooded and fertilized the land. And we know that it wasn't just the Egyptians, but many ancient cultures marked the cycles of Sirius because they knew as they saw her rise in the morning sky, known as the heliacal rise of Sirius, that it would be time to begin the first harvest. It would be time to begin the season of Lammas. So it varies depending where you are in the world, but the rising of Sirius, you'll be able to see her in the morning sky around about the 12th and 14th of August. So it's slightly out of step with the celebrations of the Lion's Gate, which tend to be activated on the 8th of August. So all of these energies weave together to create this energy of us really being able to step into a new level, a new cycle of receptivity. Also around this time, on the 11th of August, we have Jupiter changing direction alongside Uranus within about an hour of each other. They are going to station, so they're going to be at their strongest. Jupiter is going to station direct and Uranus is going to station retrograde on the same day, just as Mercury also moves back into Leo. She's going to finally recover her retrograde shadow on the 15th. So we'll finally see some completion to what began way back early in July when she entered her retrograde shadow. So let's talk about Jupiter first. So Jupiter has been retrograde in Sagittarius since the 10th of April this year. So the area of our birth chart which contained Sagittarius has been undergoing a realignment. So we may have been reworking what truth means to us. Jupiter in Sagittarius is the ultimate quester for truth, particularly spiritual truth. Jupiter in Sagittarius wants to seek out the deep wisdom of the universe. So wherever she has been retrograde in your chart, you may have been reevaluating what is true for you, realigning what is in alignment with your morals, with your integrity, with your deep inner truth. Collectively, we have been reevaluating what our purpose is, reevaluating what our vision is for our life. You know, Sagittarius is the archeress who is shooting for the stars, who is reaching towards her highest potential. So we may have been reassessing what that means to us, and we've seen this energy reflected in the collective. You know, we've seen how people's fanatical beliefs, which can be the shadow side of Jupiter, have a negative impact on our collective evolution. So now, as she turns direct, we can start to see again the results for the work that we have been putting in this area of our lives. So check the space of your birth chart where she's been retrograding, but on a collective level, this is an energy that allows us to begin to move forward. Although it will take a little while for Jupiter to pick up speed and actually leave her stationary degree, this is when things start to unwind. Next month we'll have Saturn stationing direct, then we'll have Pluto stationing direct. So this is typically the time of year where things start to become clear, where our intentions start to become a reality. And this month, this season of Lammas is the beginning of that. As we move into Virgo season, things become even more tangible, even more grounded, and our creations, our ideas and inspirations become something that we can, see and touch and hold and know and integrate into our world. So Jupiter's going to make some beautiful trines to these Leo planets. They're also going to be trining Chiron in Aries during this period. So this is a real time of expansion. This is a time where we can open up to something new, a new vision, a new sense of what is possible for us in our lives. So Uranus is changing direction on the same day. So this can be a very, very electrifying period of the lunar cycle. This can be a time when, we may feel so open, so connected to downloads, to insights that we might not know what to put into motion first. So it's a good idea to capture them, and then you can take the ones that you feel are going to be most beneficial and start to set them into motion as we head towards Virgo season. Virgo likes to make things, as an earth sign of course, Virgo likes to ground things into reality. So Uranus will be stationing retrograde in the Taurus section of your birth chart, which she entered on March the 6th. This year. We know she had a little sojourn into Taurus in 2018 as well, but March the 6th this year was where she properly installed herself for this 7-year stay. So this is a time to reflect and review the changes that have happened in the Taurus area of your birth chart. This is a time again where we're going to be very aware of the old concepts that we need to liberate ourselves from. Leo is always asking us, where do I need to claim sovereignty? And Uranus is asking us, what do I need to free myself from? So we could be becoming aware of those things which are really not serving us and not serving our ability to love ourselves and live the life that we truly desire. And when we don't live a life in alignment with our desires, when we don't allow ourselves this freedom of expression, of creativity, of sensuality, of recognizing the beauty and pleasure in life, that's when we become dull, that's when we become deadened, and that's when we can fall into unhelpful patterns mentally and physically in our lives. So these are things that we can reflect on during this month. It's a very, very busy period, these few days in the middle of August, because we also have Venus creating a new gateway, a new star point, as she conjoins the Sun. So you may remember way back in October last year when Venus was retrograde in Scorpio. As part of her retrograde journey, she makes a conjunction with Sol every 18 months. And this is known as a star point of Venus. So from her conjunction with the Sun, she will then begin a new phase of her cycle. So each time she conjuncts the Sun, she either transitions from morning to evening star or vice versa. So back in October, during her retrograde period, she made the transition into morning star. And ever since then, since her transition, she has been slowly descending back down through the 7 gateways of Inanna. Every time she makes a conjunction with the waning moon, she goes down another step towards the underworld. So around 9 months after the first conjunction with the sun, she comes and conjoins with the sun again. And this is going to happen in Leo on the 14th of August. So Venus is going to be in the she's going to re-enter the vault of light. She's going to find herself in the darkest space of the underworld again before she begins her rebirth, her rising as evening star. So Venus conjoins the sun, and then she will gradually rise in the heavens again until she becomes seen, which will be around mid-September, just before the equinox, the 18th of September. So this is a very intense and important part of the Venus cycle. We could probably do a whole, we could definitely do a whole talk about just Venus star points and Venus cycles. But for now, we can be aware that this conjunction can really illuminate the shadows of Leo within us. So Leo, in her radiant aspect, is this magnificent, divine, courageous, expressive, inspiring energy. Venus in Leo is the epitome of self-love. So when we look at this from the shadow aspect, we can see those spaces where we don't love ourselves. One of the shadows of Leo is where we can look outside of ourselves for love and approval, where we look outside of ourselves for validation, for somebody else to say that we're good enough, that our creations are good enough, that we're beautiful enough, that we are living a life that is acceptable to other people. So this, particularly as the full moon in Aquarius will also be rising on at this time exact on the 15th of August, this can be where we become very aware of how we need to liberate ourselves from other people's opinions and ideas, and not just other people's opinions and ideas, but ingrained societal beliefs around what is acceptable, around how we should look, how we should express ourselves, how we should make money. So this is a time of really knowing that it's only you that can validate you. It's only you that can know that you are enough exactly as you are. This can be a time when we are really meeting the beloved within. If we use these energies at their highest expression, we can really move into a deeper level of self-love. We can move into deeper levels of union with ourselves, into knowing that we are both an expression of the divine, and we are also an imperfect human being who has been birthed into a world which is moving through a very challenging phase at this time. So we go back to these Uranian energies, these Taurus energies of really knowing that only we can provide security within. Uranus and Aquarius can have to do with trauma as well, because they are associated with shocks and sudden changes. And in the world that we currently live in, a lot of people, are fearful about being able to support themselves and their families. We're fearful of being able to do that with the way that the governments and banking systems and the old patriarchal structures are operating currently. So we have to work to find this sense of abundance within ourselves, this sense of trusting that we will always be safe and secure and provided for. So when we look at the energies of Uranus, of Aquarius, where the full moon is, and Leo, we look at this polarity. And Leo says, I am a unique individual. I have unique talents and gifts to share. And Aquarius says, well, you are part of the whole. Although you are individual, you are not separate. So how are you going to use those gifts and talents to serve the birth of the age of Aquarius, to serve the new paradigm? So we're finding this balance between knowing that although we are unique, we also have an integral part to play in the upliftment of all. So it's a very, very interesting month, a beautiful month, and a month that could really help us to expand into who we truly are, if we are brave enough to take the steps, to make the changes, to accept what is given, and to look with eyes of gratitude. We have all of this energy going on in Saturn in Capricorn at the moment. And indeed, Saturn is still conjunct the South Node, as she's going to be right up until October. So there can be this heaviness, like I said, this fear about our basic survival needs. A lot of karmic stuff going on. Capricorn, particularly Saturn in Capricorn, can be a heavy energy. We can feel, weighed down by duties and responsibilities and obligations. But this season reminds us that there is always something that we can be grateful for. If we have our basic needs being met, then we, by the standards of most of the population, are doing really well. So this month, look out for what brings you joy. How can you cultivate more of that? How can you expand into even more pleasure in your life? Because again, we're very much taught that pleasure, enjoyment is a superficial thing. It's a frivolous thing that we shouldn't really have time for. Yet it is what fuels our life force, our energy. Leo, as the teacher of self-love, again reminds us of replenishing this energy of ecstasy within ourselves. And when we do that, we can become a magnet for all of these good things, all of this harvest, all of these blessings that I have been talking about. So how can you give yourself time to really reconnect with what makes your soul feel alive? What are your passions? What did you enjoy doing as a small child? How did you express yourself? Perhaps revisit some of those things and incorporate them into your daily routine and schedule. So as we go towards the end of the month, the planets are going to slowly start moving into Virgo, the sign of the priestess, the sign of the disciplined, focused one, the sign of the grain mother. So we are still in these energies of harvest, yet we are now moving from fire to earth, from solar energy into the darker time of the year, as I mentioned earlier. So then we come to this space of how can I organize? How can I structure? How can I take what I have been given? How can I take the changes that eclipse season brought? How can I take the inspirations of Leo season and make them part of my day-to-day life? So Virgo reminds us of the importance of daily steps, small steps, to bring our big dreams into vision, into reality. Virgo reminds us that everything can become a sacred ritual if we approach it with the right kind of intention. You know, for Virgo, it's about bringing the spirit into the mundane. It's about being the vessel, being the channel for the healing energies of the cosmos to move through. So this is a time when we will naturally turn to decluttering, detoxing, preparing ourselves to go into the darker months here in the Northern Hemisphere, preparing to go into the spring energies, the spring equinox for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. We also have a beautiful conjunction between Venus and Mars. They're going to come together in the sign of Virgo on the 21st of August. So this is a 2-year cycle. This is the first time in 2 years that these two have come together, and the previous time was also in Virgo. So this is about, of course, honoring and balancing the inner masculine and feminine parts of ourselves. It's about sanctifying our relationships, dedicating them to the divine. It's about the true divine union, the true hieros gamos within, you know, recognizing the beloved within and without. This is the coming together of the high priest and the high priestess in the sign of Virgo. So it's likely that there will be energies of love and romance and sensuality coming through for us in the Leo season. So it's really knowing that we can be in partnership, but we don't need to look at somebody else to fulfill us or, as I said, to validate us. So take these new beginnings that are coming in all of these areas of your life and be prepared to make them real as we start to move towards Virgo, to move towards the equinox season. So as we can see, it's a much easier month. I mean, there are always lessons, whichever astrology or sign that we are working with. You know, every sign has its polarity, has its light and its dark. But there are periods of time which are, of course, easier for us to experience, easier for us to work with, easier for us to flow with. And this is one of those very beautiful times. So I am wishing you all a very, very beautiful harvest season. May all of your work be rewarded. May all of your visions come into being. May you all receive the love and abundance that you deserve. If you would like to connect with me further, you can check the links below for my Facebook and my website. And if you would like to work with these energies more deeply, please check out my lunar cycle online groups, where we come together at the new and the full moons and work with meditations, energy transmissions, and various other techniques to help you really embody and work with the energies of each lunar cycle for change and transformation in your own life. Thank you so much for listening to me, and wishing you a very, very magical 4 weeks.